We're in different parts of Australia. So I'm in the southeast in Melbourne in Victoria, and Luke's in Adelaide in South Australia.
But
And
first off, tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Oh wow, that's a
Uh,
long story. Yeah, we met each other in 1989 through a mutual friend, and we've been pals ever since. So we grew up on a steady diet of 1980s horror movies and yeah, kind of found our way into the film industry. Been working on this project together now for about 6 years.
mm. Well, I could tell it took a lot of work, and it looked like you were at some of the press conferences for the 40th anniversary or 40th remembrance.
yeah, yeah, we
And
were. Yeah.
did
There's,
you guys actually spend a lot of time in Indianapolis for this?
yeah, we had a few trips. We did probably about, I think it was about three or four over the years, but extended stays and yeah, including that the 40th anniversary we were there for. So it was good.
Indy's kind of our second home now. We we kind of came to this case through a Facebook group, and it really got its hooks in us, and we just couldn't let it go. And we started reaching out to people, families of the victims, law enforcement, and we just sort of hit a point with our research where it's like, well, we've done as much as we can, sitting on a couch in Australia. So on a wing and a prayer, we headed off to Indy for our first trip, and we've done another two since then, and we're headed over again for the launch of the film, which is going to be in cinemas in limited release across the country, and we're doing a Q&A on Friday night at the Landmark Theatre in Glendale.
Oh, very cool. Actually, you that brings me into my first question. Why did you decide to do a documentary about the Burger Chef killings?
Do you want me to take, do you want to do it, Adam, or do,
Oh, sure, yeah. So as I said, we kind of came across it in a forum online where we're both true crime devotees, I guess, and initially it was just kind of the intrigue of a crime that sort of didn't get the attention that it deserved, because on the same weekend that the Burger Chef murders happened, you had the Jonestown massacre. So the Burger Chef murders really should have had a lot more attention, but got a little bit lost in the shuffle. We felt like no one had really sort of done a deep dive. So we turned our attention to it, and we pretty quickly found out that there was some pretty dodgy police work early on, that ultimately caused the case to be unsolved 40 years after the fact. And we thought maybe uh, if we look long and hard and speak to enough people, we might be able to turn up some new evidence and shed a bit of light.
And Luke, do you have anything to add?
um, yeah, I think just that we also wanted to come at it from a pretty unique perspective. And I think, the way that we've structured the film, we've centered it around, bringing the victims to the center of it rather than, having them as kind of just names, so after meeting the families and everything, we thought the only way that we could really do the story justice is by including them in their own story. So yeah, I think that that was really important for us.
I want to talk to you about that, but let's
Yeah.
hold off to the end. I want to get these five questions out, and then
Okay. Sorry.
I go there.
Yeah.
No, 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 it's not you. Is it for
Yeah.
my editing later?
Yeah.
What was the most challenging thing about making this documentary?
Oh, I think the most challenging thing about it is probably the time. 40 years is a long time when we started to look at it. People's memories fade, people's memories change over time. So that was a really big challenge. What we sort of discovered early on was that there were investigations done in a lot of different jurisdictions. And I think there was this want from law enforcement in those particular jurisdictions to kind of write the book on the Burger Chef murders. And because of that, there wasn't a lot of information that was shared. So what we found was sort of all this siloed information. So, a big challenge was, I guess, collating all that information and bringing it in to a single narrative.
All right. Luke, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think just, yeah, touching on that was kind of deciphering all the information that we had learned and also filmed, into a, cohesive, piece of, and, for lack of a better word, entertainment that, was also informative, and then also like had, we learnt a lot, conclusively that we wanted to present. And so, yeah, it was just, challenging bringing it all into one kind of, 90-minute film.
And
Well, I think just to add to that, another one of the challenges was, you know, we didn't want to be salacious or gratuitous. We really felt a responsibility to the people in particular, the families of the victims, who trusted us with their story to do it justice. That weighed really heavily on us, and hopefully we've achieved that.
what surprised you about this project?
Gosh, what didn't surprise us? I mean, I think I think the thing that surprised me the most is that if you analyze, there are a handful of kind of popular theories, and then there's a whole raft of theories that exist sort of more on the fringes. But there are probably 4 or 5 theories that if I sat you down and I told you about those theories in isolation, you would walk away from that conversation believing that you knew what happened. They, in isolation, they are incredibly compelling. What we sort of found is that when you scratch the surface, some of those popular theories don't hold up, and we weren't expecting that, and that took us in a completely different direction. So that I think was quite surprising.
Yeah, you explored the different theories in the movie pretty well. Luke,
Yeah,
did you
I
have
mean,
any?
Yeah, I
oh,
think just,
oh,
oh, sorry.
sorry, go on,
Do
Luke.
you want I think just for me, like, reading about this case and then, flying over there from Australia and actually being with, the likes of Teresa that are actually like, still affected, it's still real, is like, you just, again, like facts and all that sort of thing that that we read and stuff, as opposed to seeing how raw and how still relevant the pain is from the people that were directly affected, surprised me the most, and that's again, bringing the humanity into it and why we wanted to do it the way that we did it.
Adam, you had something else you were going to say?
Um, I think I was shocked by just how generous people were with their time, and sort of to Luke's point, this is still an open wound for so many people. Um, and I guess when you're sort of in the research, it's not something that you sort of take into account. And then you go and you meet these people. And I think part of the reason that they were generous with their time, there's a couple of reasons. One is that they're just lovely people with that kind of Midwestern hospitality. But the second and probably more important reason is that they're desperate for answers. All these years, so much water's gone under the bridge, and they are still desperate to know what happened to their loved ones in that kind of 2-hour period between 11:30 p.m. and about 1:30 a.m. On November 17, 18. I was really quite struck by that and quite moved by it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just to again add to what Adam said about you know, it's yeah, like, we felt as, two Australians over there, we're from half a world away, and we felt like we could bring some sort of fresh approach. We're not sort of like, we weren't bound by any of the former, the years of investigation and stuff. And we came at it, and also like it opened doors, to be honest with you, that, two Australian guys were there, kind of, on the beat trying to, learn information and stuff. And people did open to us to the point where we went to that press conference and we were running 5 minutes late and the whole press conference waited for us to arrive. So, it was really neat. And, and people were, yeah, it was really kind of like, people were really open and lovely to us.
Cool. Let's see, my phone turned off. Okay. Now that it's finished, what are you most proud of?
Oh, great question. I think I'm most proud of the new information that we turned up. I think in so many of so much of the true crime fare that's out there is really just a straight up and down retelling of an event that happened, at some point in recent history. And this might have been that, but, we really took the time to immerse ourselves in the research because we were adamant that, somewhere out there's someone that knows something. And we were able to find a person like that who, certainly changed my view of the case. I think I'm really proud of that, and I'm also proud of the sensitivity with which we kind of handled our recreations. It was really, really important to us that we weren't there to we weren't there for sensational reasons. We weren't there for gratuitous reasons. We weren't there to kind of hold up these monsters, as is so often the case in these, with true crime fare. It's about the monster. Was he born? Was he made? We didn't want that. We wanted to pay tribute to the victims in this case. We wanted to depict them as people with their lives ahead of them, because this really is a senseless tragedy. And we, yeah, the ending of the film, I hope, kind of resonates with people in that way, and I'm proud of the way that we handled that.
Yeah, I don't want to give that away. Well, before Luke, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think like what I'm most proud of again is I think, bringing the victims to life, and say like it really felt like are seeing these people like in their lives, and we, we were pretty specific. The research that we were lucky, obviously, enough to know family members of some of the victims that we could really kind of do the research and form the characters. And our young cast, like seeing them, who are Australian and New Zealand, by the way, being able to like take on Midwest 1970s accents flawlessly, like they are incredible. And I think, and also obviously we were really lucky enough to build the Burger Chef in Adelaide in Australia, down to the period detail is incredible. And, down to the cup and sourcing those cars. And I think we had every 1970s American car that was in Australia in our film. And yeah, just bringing that to life and being able to have them, kind of in that space tell the story. And I just don't think, true crime documentaries get made like that. I think we were incredibly lucky that we were able to go that different avenue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that did strike
Oh,
me. Oh, go on. It did strike me that the care you put into those details was pretty,
Yeah.
pretty noticeable.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's, yeah. the team that did it, like I've never seeing it get built and come to life, and that restaurant was an empty shell of an old Chinese restaurant, and the team, they gutted the building, knocked down walls, put windows in, and it was in like something that you've never seen, to the point where people were trying to come in because they thought it was a new burger restaurant that had opened in the area. It was on the radio. And we were able to kind of source the actual uniforms, and so all the cast are wearing the actual Burger Chef uniform. So and not only that, like that's just all surface, but seeing the characters and the kids, and sending the photo of the actress that played Ruth to Teresa, and Teresa sending us back a photo of them side by side. It's just heart-wrenching and beautiful.
Teresa is the real Ruth's sister.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry, I should have mentioned that.
I believe we interviewed Teresa here at WRTV.
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in the
she's
day.
been interviewed a bit, so she's pretty vocal on the case, and always trying to open it up and find bring it to people, to the mainstream.
Do you think anyone will ever be arrested for this crime?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I really hope so. Unfortunately, there's a few things that will make that really difficult. Chief among them is just the lack of physical evidence, which is the thing, which is why I think this case remains unsolved, more than 45 years after it happened. There is a lot of circumstantial evidence out there, but unfortunately, circumstantial evidence, often is not enough to get an indictment. And, I think that's the stark reality here. I know there was some touch DNA that they looked at and tested. My understanding is that nothing came of that. And, barring a confession or someone being in possession of the murder weapon, I think it's unlikely. I mean, it's a very high bar after all these years for police to be able to kind of make an arrest.
Yeah.
I think oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Luke. I should have given you.
I just wanted to say, like, leaping off what Adam said, I think, we went into it like always thinking that we could solve it. Like we said this to each other. We were always like, it was almost this kind of obsession that we were like, we're one phone call away, or one, uncovering this person who knows this person away. And I mean, and I think, and again, like, it's very hard to do something like murder for people and not talk about it to anybody that and not, how do you live with that? And I think obviously the film speaks of that. But like as Adam said, it's very hard to, make an arrest without having something definitive. But, we're all, I mean, I can only talk for myself, but I'm always hopeful that that answer will come one day.
And finally, what happens now? What happens next? Or what do you hope happens next?
In terms of the case?
Let's keep it broad. In terms of the case, yes. But then also in terms of your film.
So our great hope is that as many people as is humanly possible see it, not because of what that means for our careers, but because, I've held onto the belief, and I think Teresa and others have held onto the belief that, and the detective Jim Kramer, who is an exemplar of American law enforcement, who worked this case for 25 years, he says it in the film, somewhere somebody knows something. So my great hope is that someone sitting on their couch in, Texas or New York or, whatever, sees the film and brings forward that kind of crucial piece of information that allows the police to finally close the book on this.
Listen, great job. Oh, well, Luke, I should give you a chance for the last word if there's anything else you'd like to add.
I mean, yeah, I mean, again, just to sort of touch on what Adam said, yeah, we made the film in hope that it opens attention and brings it back into the forefront. And, and also, yeah, as Adam said, that person that's sitting in Delaware that, someone told them something and they haven't thought it was important enough. We hope that they come forward. And yeah, I mean, we think that the film is, like hopefully complements the story and brings new awareness to it.
Again, congratulations. It was really well done. And
Thank you.
And this is someone who is, knows the case, has covered it over the years. Certainly not for 6 years, devoted my life to it for 6 years. But
no, but you reached out and I really appreciate that because I remember that you did reach out.
That's right. I found you on social media somewhere, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, yeah. And that was awesome. And I really thank you for that.
Well, thanks. Look, like you, I hope that something happens. I hope that they could finally get closure for these families. I mean, it's this is a case that you captured pretty well how it really impacted the community when it happened, and has still impacts our community. Still something people talk about. So you certainly found a case that was a good story to tell. And maybe if we're lucky, it does some good, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we hope that, and and again, sorry, I'm talking too much, but it's funny that you say that because we had a time where we vox popped people on the street, and everybody has a different, this is in Speedway, everyone has a different opinion, and but it's so ingrained in the kind of in the town that so.
Yeah, and I mean the last burger chef closed like what 15 years ago or something. I mean,
it was early 90s, wasn't it? Mid 90s.
Yeah. Okay, then geez, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So
30 years ago.
Yeah. Oh goodness, we're old, huh?
Yeah. Did you ever eat there? Did you go there?
Actually, I'm from Chicago originally, and I moved here in 1997. So they were gone by the time I moved in. But man, greasy burgers, I'm too old for those now.
You're never too old. I'm not.
Never too old.
Yeah.
Hey, Vic, you'll have to come to our Q&A if you're in town.
Oh yeah,
oh for sure. Yeah.
I did reach out to you about that bit, I think. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Give us Caitlin, please make sure I get an invite.
Yes,
It's on Friday night.
On a graphic, the fancy invite, and then I will get that over to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for taking the time to do this interview. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Vic. We really appreciate it.
Listen, thank you both, gentlemen. It was a pleasure. Thanks. The movie, again, really, really well done. And I was struck by the period details and knowing that the actors were all Australian sort of blows my mind because they really felt Midwestern. Everything felt Midwestern to me. And the cars, I mean, all that stuff. You're right. You don't see that in those 60-minute documentaries we get on, Discovery Channel and what have you.
Yeah, we were pretty astute that it wasn't going to be that. And also, we worked with dialect. Well, the actors did some amazing dialect coaches and stuff to get that, that right. To the point where I've got mates that are American that watched it and they're like, they just blew their mind that they were Australian in New Zealand.
That was really well done. What do you have? Is it gonna be on Netflix or Hulu or something? Do you know where it's gonna?
We're going to be opening in select theaters and on demand everywhere on Friday.
Well, I mean, okay.
Our hope is that it gets to the widest audience possible. What shape that takes remains to be seen, but we'll keep everybody posted.
Sure, and I imagine it will get picked up. It's just too good to not be picked up by one of these places.
That's what we think as well.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you.
We're biased.
Yeah, well, and maybe I am too, since I know some of the characters and have covered this story too. But it seems it's certainly better than a lot of the ones that have been broadcast on those places. So anyway, congratulations to both of you.
Thanks.